Okay, guys, we're back with another episode of the Seth Solo Side Quest. I'm Seth from the Lonely Solo podcast. In this episode, I'm going to be reviewing a film I just watched recently, Mission Impossible: Final Reckoning. Now, this is a film that is obviously part of the Mission Impossible franchise, starring Tom Cruise. It's I believe, the 8th film in the franchise. Full disclaimer: going into this, I have not seen any other Mission Impossible film. Right? Not seen any other Mission Impossible film. This is the first Mission Impossible film that I'm watching. It's the final one. So, in terms of relationships, to be fair, this isn't, Star Wars. This isn't an MCU. It's Mission Impossible. It's an action franchise. You can be pretty clued in after watching the film for 15, 20 minutes, right? Like I was. Now, it's a really long film as well. It felt like it was pushing 3 hours. Right? A really long film. But to be honest, I watched it in cinema. It was a really good experience. I was watching it on the big screen. I was kind of here for it. I'll be honest. I was kind of here for it. I felt like the 3 hours was a nice amount to tell this story, and it gave the story time to breathe. Honestly, it gave the audience a bit of time to breathe as well. Because I went to take I went to take a, number 2 at the cinema, and those aren't quick. And I came back, I didn't even feel like I missed anything, right? Because the film's that long, right? Now that I just told everyone I just took a number 2 at the cinema. Yeah, Mission Impossible as a film, honestly, I enjoyed it. I watched it in cinema. I'm not really there for the story. There's tons of MacGuffins, right? Tons of made up weapons that, are objects to help advance the storyline, tons of that. But to be honest, as someone who's not watched any other Mission Impossible film, I don't know, is this normal? By the sounds of it, by the reviews I'm hearing from other people, this isn't really normal. But at this point, you're film 8 into this franchise. You need something to keep pushing the story forward, right? Because you can only do so many storylines. It is a movie. It's not necessarily a TV series where the storytelling can maybe be a bit slow and can maybe build to something where in these films, if we're being honest, any of these films could have been the last ones, right? So they don't know if they're going to get a second film. I think this film, they made Dead Reckoning and Final Reckoning together, back to back. But that's by the by. That is by the by. But Mission Impossible Final Reckoning, decent little film. They've got to stop some AI. Spoiler alert, but they're going to stop some AI from taking over the world. Who's going to weaponize, who's going to take over all the major countries' nuclear weapons and then start a nuclear war and kill everyone. Basically, Terminator 2, but without the Terminator. Right? Now that sounds like a pretty bad film, actually. And not bad, it's just an action film. Do you know what I mean? Terminator 2 without the Terminator is just an action film. And that's what Mission Impossible is. It's just an action film. If you're coming into this thinking you're going to get, Dune 2 level of storyline, or John Wick levels of action, to be fair, there are some interesting stunts, some really interesting stunts. And obviously it's amazing when you see in Tom Cruise, he's just sprinting, bro. Dude, he's just dusting everywhere, G. All up and down London in that film, he's just dusting. So, man, it's a legendary performance from Tom Cruise. As far as I know, I actually think this is the first Tom Cruise movie I've seen. How crazy is that? I haven't seen any of the Top Gun films. I ain't seen any of the Mission Impossible films up until now. This might be the first Tom Cruise film I've actually seen. Wow. Yeah. It's crazy. But what would I rate this out of 5 stars? I would say this is probably 3.25 stars. Not even 3.5, 3.25 stars. This was a pretty good film in my opinion, right? And to me was probably more enjoyable than the likes of more. I don't know. Yeah, probably is a touch more enjoyable than like Novocaine. Better than like The Amateur. Yeah, better than The Amateur. I don't know, actually. The Amateur was not bad. Yeah, that sort of level, though. That sort of level. But yeah, you know how it is, man. Mission Impossible is a decent little film. Treat it for what it is, guys. Don't, like I said, don't expect to get Dune 2 level of storytelling. This is an action movie, right? Watch this for good action, some good stunts, some emotional moments, sort of. You know, I mean, not really, but like there is a lot of reminiscing, which, as someone who's not seen any of the other films, was actually really helpful for me. So I appreciate that. Don't assume that because this is the last film, we've watched all the other ones. You know, because I haven't. I ain't seen any of them. So I really liked seeing some of that reminiscing in the film. And in my opinion, it really helped, really enhanced the film. Again, was one of the reasons why I put it above something like a Novocaine or maybe The Amateur with a 3.25 stars. Because yeah, I think it's like I said, a pretty good film. Obviously, what I'm hearing is it's had a huge budget. And for this film to break even, it needs to make $1 billion, which none of the Mission Impossible films have ever done before. Granted, I've never needed to do it before, obviously, because this is probably the biggest budget. And like I said, I haven't watched the previous films, but this felt like a big budget film. A lot of physical scenes, just a lot of physical scenes. I liked some of the cinematography work when, spoiler alert again, when you've got all the politicians and the army generals in the room, situation room, wherever they are, and the president. Some of the shots there were really good. They used a really good use of like shadows to sort of demonstrate that these are kind of some dark characters that are willing to blow up the world. Really willing to blow up the world if that's what it comes to, right? But yeah, like I said, a pretty decent film. I'd recommend giving it a watch. There's a lot of negative reviews out there saying this is a really bad film. I don't know, maybe if they're comparing it to the other Mission Impossible films, I don't know. I've never seen them, but I watched this, not seeing any other Mission Impossible film before, and I walked out thinking that was a trip. There was some moments there when I was really engaged. Now, granted, that probably is because it's the first one I've seen and I'm knowing it's the last one. So I'm thinking sort of anything can happen, right? Whereas if you're watching the first, second, if you're watching any of the previous films, you know, basically nothing crazy is going to happen to him because there's going to be another film, right? This wasn't necessarily the case in this film for me, obviously. But yeah, decent little film. Give it a watch. Make up your own opinions, guys. That's what it's all about, you know. Just because someone reviews it on YouTube and says it's good doesn't actually mean it's good. Same way someone reviews it and says it's bad doesn't necessarily mean it's bad because it's subjective to you, isn't it? But yeah, another episode of the Seth solo side quest in the bag, and I'm out. Peace.